Whatever.
You ever had to take them to the movies or anything? Oh, have you? Oh, yeah. They're all, my brother used to. Then two twin boys in Pierre, those three don't stay home, and they never did take them in the water, get out, eat something, because your mom might take lunch. And, they never wouldn't take them.
Good.
He said, I've never seen
Busy?
them.
Very.
And, yeah, still.
Yeah, refer to work, or you can refer to work to you. One of the things that goes on when you sit up here, I have the job, and now you're gonna have the job. I can't hear it.
That's why I sit over here.
So I might look at you, or I might have to repeat it, or I got you, whisper to me, or.
I got you, you couldn't have a better wingman.
I like that, and you don't even have hearing aids. You don't need them, right?
Not yet.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wish I did, that way I could have some selective hearing. I'd be like,
I've had a lot of females.
Right.
Yeah.
Our strategic meeting is tomorrow.
That's why I thought, it was kind of our choice. I thought we bought two because we just take the load off of us.
Oh, yeah. Years ago. Let me do some investigation on this tomorrow.
Yeah, that budget,
I think you can undo this.
going back years. Because we didn't use that much savings last year.
I think you can unlock that scene because
And this is pretty much.
I am in so many dollars.
Right.
I'm gonna do it, something, you got a big scene. So it's back. But I think you can unseen it. I just want to see if they got a tool. So. I have to keep it on.
Don't take the other season with it.
No. And actually, close to 50 miles an hour. Well, Buffalo and Rochester are set for 60.
Hit that Mars rate. It's quite a deal, eh?
I had 73 on the wind gauge.
My mom said something. I heard they got 78 and Mars. I'm like, I bet we got something. We're out in the open, Timmy. We get. Oh, yeah.
Comes right off of that hill up by Salisbury, fell through that gully and gets
There's nothing stopping it coming across my meadow. No. Nothing but a big barn. Yeah.
Took her concrete lantern right across the front deck last night.
Wow. Had to plug that in. Was that switch already turned on when you went down? It was turned on, but the microphone wasn't plugged in. The charger in there said microphone. I didn't plug in. I've never had to do that before. So it's changed. I've never seen it labeled either. And they're turned on. Last one, maybe it was a meeting before, but it was already on. We'll turn it on. That'd be good. All kinds of churches. See that? Well, I don't think there's a whole lot of opposition. I haven't seen a lot of stuff. Some stuff on there. And actually somebody sent me a bunch of videos. I haven't seen 2 or 3 people. I was going to say that. Yeah. Come on, guys. Come on, different than ours. Oh, yeah. Talking about like still your copies. Your turn nine, right? Yep. I'll wait a minute.
I noticed that you and Sean had the yellow copy, so I took the yellow copy to make sure that we were like, well, we're fine.
You know what, I can tell this is really fun. We've got, especially, so we, I won't go there.
I wasn't gonna say it, so, but I'm glad you did.
I'd like to welcome everybody to our town meeting, public meeting for the renovations of the rink. Hey, let's go. I'd like to welcome everybody to our town meeting to discuss the renovations at our rink. Would everybody please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, thank you for coming. We're here to discuss a project that we're talking about at the Bolton Ave Rec Center that we have. I'm really kind of going to let Andrew take the lead here and do the talking. If anybody has questions afterwards, we'll be here. Okay, Andrew?
Good.
This is Andrew Garlock. He's the engineer architect working on the project.
I'm Andrew Garlock with Drew Architecture. Town approached me earlier in 2023 about performing a study and schematic design on the ice arena at Bolton Avenue. That's what we're here to review today, are those designs that we've come up with for the project. The project entails a 9,400 square foot addition and a renovation to the existing arena. The addition here, you can see the site plan. The addition is going on the western and northern sides of the existing ice arena. This is the existing arena. Just to orient you, this is the school over here. So the addition is going towards the parking lot and then towards the village side of the existing arena, sort of in an L shape. A portion of the addition is single story, the locker room portion, and then when we go through the plans, I'll show you that the entry and the lobby, that is a 2-story addition right there at the front of the building. Existing parking lot pretty much stays the same. We are going to introduce and add sidewalks for pedestrian safety, for people parking and entering the building. Also, for crossing from the school for kids, we're going to put a dedicated crosswalk there. But in terms of parking, you know, there's not a lot happening. It's very much the same in that regard. This is the first floor plan, and what you'll see here, everything in orange is that L-shaped addition that you can see. You can see the existing ice arena here, and the arena itself is used for hockey, soccer, and lacrosse, box lacrosse currently. Right now there's ice out there for hockey and figure skating, but once the ice goes out, the town did purchase turf a few years ago, so they are using it year-round now, this facility. So that's in gray. You can see the surface there. That's roughly 85 by 185 to give you an idea of scale. What we're renovating inside the existing arena, we're going to be tearing out all the existing locker rooms and bleachers. Here you can see that in blue. These will be new telescopic aluminum bleachers that can fold up against the wall to create open space when not in use. We're going to have 2 new restrooms inside the existing arena, and then a concession room that opens up into the addition, into the lobby of the addition. Jumping back to the addition and talking about the scope, so this is the parking lot side here, and you'll enter the building from the end of the building. Currently you enter at the corner towards the school. We are shifting that. We're going to enter more center with the parking lot. You can see the entry here in plan here. So you'll come in at grade, at parking lot level. You'll come up a set of stairs or an ADA elevator lift up to the level of the rink. The parking lot is 3 to 4 feet lower than the existing ice surface, and so that's why it's necessary to have those stairs and that ADA lift there. Some of you may know currently there's an existing ramp that's there. That all goes away. That all gets demolished as part of the project. So primarily you'll come in these doors up into a vestibule. There'll be a ticket office there. That'll be utilized for more major events that might be ticketed. And then you'll come through another set of doors into essentially a lobby warming room. That's the width of the arena. To your right here, when you walk in, there'll be a seating area that's open to the lobby. That's adjacent to the concessions. So there'll be a window here for the concession stand. In this very corner, there's a stairwell that goes up to the second floor, but also you can take those stairs down to grade towards the school. There'll be a door that exits right there at grade. On the opposite side of the vestibule, we have, like I said, the ticket office, a couple restrooms, and then another stair tower. With the occupancy of the second floor, it is required that we have 2 exits from that space up there, which is why we have 2 stairs that come down from the second floor. This stair also goes down to grade, and you'll see in the renderings kind of how that works, but it's important really when you're in a stair and you're exiting to be able to exit right to grade for safety. This long addition, this 22 by roughly 220 foot addition, essentially makes up 5 locker rooms, 4 of which are varsity size locker rooms, each with their own bathrooms and showers. We have a refs room, and then we actually have a 5th locker room that's an overflow locker room. That's necessary in case you have a large team or a team that's half boys and half girls. It's important to separate them and have an additional locker room for that. That really makes up this end of the addition. We'll go to the second floor. So the second floor addition is fairly limited. It's the width of the existing building by about 20 feet deep. You can see the stairs at each corner. We have a pair of restrooms in there. It's really open. It's really just primarily open warming room, second floor warming room space. A couple storage rooms at each end. And then we have access from that second floor out onto a balcony space. We're going to relocate the announcer's booth in an area right there that's accessible from the second floor, as well as a small storage room. So it's a very limited second floor, roughly 2,200 square foot of addition, and then some interior space that we'll be reconstructing. Just to look at the existing building, you can see this is the existing building now, facing the parking lot. It's pretty simple. The building is really just a pre-engineered metal building, metal siding, metal roofing. It is deteriorating. I'm sure you've all seen it. We have some photos here showing this corner of the building from Bolton Avenue, and then the rear of the building here, and then a couple photos inside. This is pretty typical of the locker rooms inside the arena, and then these are the bathrooms. The bathrooms are very limited in that facility currently, and they do not meet ADA, and they are also deteriorating. So as I was saying, this is the view of the existing elevation facing the parking. Once we build out that 20 feet to create that 2-story addition, this is what we've come up with an elevation to modernize and really bring this facility into this century. You know, we've got the main entry, so you'll come in and then you'll go up. We've got the stair towers that you can see here. We've got some nice glazing in those to kind of, you know, bring some light into those spaces, but also draw your eye to those. We've got this bay of windows here into the lobby, concession lobby area, plus the warming room above. We've got the main sign for the building right over the entry. An LED message board for information about practices and things for the facility. And then I think it's important to, you know, have a spot where teams can show, you know, that this is where they play. And so a spot for banners, for team banners and things to show, you know, whose facility this really is. This would be a rendering here from the corner, from kind of moving up and down Bolton Avenue. The school would be over here. Currently right here would be the existing entry. So you'll see how that's shifted now towards the parking lot. This is an example of one of those stair towers with the door at grade here. And you can see how that sidewalk kind of leads right to that door and then right to the front of the building. So all those are important for pedestrian safety, the occupants of the building. It's important to keep people safe, you know, through the project. The building will also, you know, be fully renovated inside the existing arena with all new mechanicals, plumbing, electrical. It's really a full gut rental of the existing building with the addition. So both inside and out, that building will essentially look and feel like a new facility. There isn't going to be anything in the next 10, 20, 30 years that needs to be adjusted or looked at. It's really a project that takes it, you know, in longevity, really. So, let me just see here. Couple other renderings here, just to show you. These are kind of hard to see from back there. This is a rendering from the parking lot from the other side, looking at the other corner. This is that alcove where you can enter that stair tower there. You can see the team banners here. This is a rendering kind of from above. You can see the existing mass of the existing arena behind the addition. You really don't see, in terms of space or form, the existing rink from this side. The only spot you'll really see the existing rink from are the back and the side facing the school. It will be fully cladded with new siding and roofing, so it'll look like a new facility. It is going to look nice, but it's not going to change a lot from the size and form and the way it looks now. It's just really going to have new finishes. In terms of, we did, through the fall, we did some hazardous materials testing on the facility to make sure there were not any major roadblocks in that respect. There wasn't really much. There's a few areas of asbestos that we'd have to abate and some PCBs on the exterior. Overall, I think we were looking at around $25,000 to $30,000 of abatement, which for a facility of this size is actually very reasonable. So we were quite pleased with that. Total project budget, currently we're looking with construction costs, soft costs, and contingency, we're estimating the project right around $10 million. So it is a sizable project. It does bring this facility, it updates the facility, it expands the facility, it really makes it something that many people can utilize, and that's why, you know, the budget is where it's at.
Anybody have any questions? Go, I'll let Andrew address them.
Yep.
I'll start. You show the sidewalk only in front of the building. Is it going to continue to Cornwall or Catherine Ave at all?
We haven't discussed that. It could, it very well could go all the way to Cornwall and Catherine.
Because you're having the pedestrians walk through the middle of the parking lot again, and I live next door,
Yeah.
so I see the commotion that happens, and
Yeah.
a lot of close calls in that parking lot.
Yeah, currently, there are no sidewalks around the building, so everybody walks
There
through
aren't,
the parking
no.
lot. So I think it would be prudent to extend the sidewalk to Catherine.
What's the time frame from start to finish approximately?
For construction?
Excuse me?
For construction?
Yes.
That depends on how we phase the project and when we start the project. We haven't really discussed, this is just schematic design as well. We haven't gone through the future phases of design to really develop the project yet. But that'll be discussed in future meetings should the board decide to move forward. I would estimate, you know, probably, and it also depends on the contractor that wins the award on the bid. There's going to be multiple prime contractors for this project. There'll be a general contractor, mechanical, plumbing, electrical, fire protection, and probably a civil contractor. So those are all separate prime contractors that will be working together. There will be a construction manager as part of the project. It is a big enough project to require oversight, aside from, you know, the town and myself. So I would say though no less than 8 months. No more than a year.
That would be from demolition to opening the door itself?
Yeah. Yep, the nice thing about the addition, you can really almost in a way, you know, build the addition independent of working inside the building. You can phase it in a way that maybe you can still occupy the arena while you're building the addition, and then once you get the addition up and enclosed and insulated, at some point the facility will not be able to be used. You know, we'll have to actually turn it over to the contractors for them to perform the work.
More questions?
What's the existing substructure behind the metal cladding right now?
It's a moment frame steel pre-engineered building, with 8-inch metal purlins.
I was gonna say, it's not wood, is it?
No, there are some areas of wood. We're tearing out, like, all the bleachers and the locker rooms. They're actually illegally existing, so we're making the building in a way legal again by removing the wood. It's considered by code a type 2B, non-combustible, non-protected building. So you're not allowed to have wood inside those buildings structurally. So we're gonna correct that, and we won't. The addition will be type 2B, which is non-combustible. It'll primarily be concrete blocks, steel, concrete floors. You know, it's concrete and steel.
Industrial rated.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
That second floor warming room, now, does that look out onto the ice?
It does, yep. Both
Okay.
the first floor and the second floor will be complete glass, well, as much as possible, structurally possible, full glass, looking at the
And,
existing ring.
I've always heard different people say that we have the best ice. None of that equipment's gonna change, right?
No, actually, that's probably one of the major things we're not touching is the existing ice, the boards. It is some of the best, I believe, some of the best ice, or if not the best, in the North Country. But that will remain.
When was the existing building built?
Oh, it was built in stages. It used to just be, an outdoor rink, I believe, in that location, running the opposite direction. And my grandfather played in there at that rink.
I skated there.
And then they put the roof, then they reoriented the ice and built that roof over it. You know, Brent, when that was?
I don't know, no.
I was, about 10 years old for that.
It was 69.
54 years ago.
1970.
It's been about,
Early 70s.
Yeah.
so about 54 years since there's been a renovation and improvement.
Well, then, I don't know when they put the sides on it and put, you know,
A
everything.
couple years after.
So, yeah, it hasn't been touched in 50 years, like, to a large extent. The ice surface was redone in the late 2009, 2010 era. So all the piping below the slab, none of that needs to be updated. So,
But the structure itself is,
the steel structure is fine, you know, the purlins and the main structural frames are fine. We will likely just paint them as part of the project to spruce them up, make it look good on the inside, but structurally that building is adequate. So, there was talks about raising the existing building, like you know, it is you know, one of the, things about that building is it does have a low roof compared to other arenas, low ceiling. We did discuss during previous meetings the idea of raising the building, like jacking up all that steel, and it would just be counterintuitive and extremely costly. You'd, at that point, be better off putting in a new steel structure. And so we haven't proposed doing that.
Well, the expense of climate control also increases when you, raise the roof.
Yeah, your size of your HVAC's on the volume, cubic feet of air. So really it makes more sense to keep it, and it works. I mean,
As long as it's working now.
played hockey in there for 50-some years with a roof there. I think it creates a nice, small hometown rink feel. Some of the rinks, they're so big, you know, they don't have that type of feel. So.
How much, insulation will be in this building compared to the existing?
There isn't much now, very little, if any, insulation. It'll all be insulated up to code, minimally up to code. So it's gonna perform much better in the winter and the shoulder seasons. And also in the summer, when we do have soccer and lacrosse in there, it will be conditioned, air conditioned, it will be climate controlled as well.
That's what I
It'll
was
go both ways.
So it will be climate controlled, so if any time during the year you can have it the right temperature.
You can heat it and you can cool it, yeah.
Spray foam, that insulation?
We haven't developed the details, yet. Probably the addition is going to more than likely be a lot of cement block, and so we typically insulate that with rigid exterior bound insulation board. The existing arena, the girts, we can either do with bats, like blanket insulation, or spray foam. But we haven't decided that. The issue with spray foam is cost, especially with closed cell. It's quite costly. It does work well. It's a great insulation, but it's expensive. So, we'll work through those details, during the latter part of the design. But it will be, no matter what we use, it will be insulated up to the current energy code, which in New York is fairly strict. So.
Wouldn't that have a significant change in price, or when you priced out the 10 million, which way did you look at insulating it then?
Right now, it's based on, a blanket insulation, yeah, the
So if you want spray foam.
It's a high level budget right now, it's per square foot pricing really, so we haven't looked into quantity of materials, we did break out the quantity of siding and roofing because those are such major scopes. But in terms of the insulation, right now, we'd look at it first with the blanket insulation, and then if we, budget allows, then we could go from there, so.
Is the bleacher capacity going to be increasing or staying the same?
It's gonna increase by, I think, more than double inside the existing arena. I have a number here. This set of bleachers here will hold 150 people, and then these here will be about 250. So you'll be able to get about 400 people on the bleachers inside the arena itself. I don't know what the existing ones hold, but I would probably not have that. These are gonna go all the way from, where they currently start, and they're gonna go all the way back to the existing exterior wall. Right now, they only go about halfway back, and, the way they're spaced and built in there, they're not efficient in terms of seating, so. And these are also longer. We did extend, this way more than what it currently exists, so.
Will they have those handles on them?
Yep, they'll have handrails, they'll be code compliant.
What do we hold now?
Will that have overhead heating again over the bleacher area in there?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you're doubling your
The
capacity
recipe.
in the weight room, or in the, warming rooms too?
Yeah, that's going to, currently, I mean, the existing warming room is here against the existing glass. That's gonna come out completely, so that's gonna almost go back to the existing space of the arena. We didn't really do a lot of occupant load calculations for this space, but I would say on each floor, you could comfortably have 150 people.
Like a community space where they,
Yeah.
you could just hold a small event or something in there too.
The second floor has, probably even more capacity for people. It's, especially this space, it's really completely open, other than the bathrooms and the stairs. It's a completely open 20 by 70 space, warming room space.
Will the lift take you to the second floor, or only from the parking area up to the ground level?
Right now, it just goes to the ground level, because they are both on the first floor and second floor warming rooms. Code doesn't dictate that we have to send it up to the second floor, because we have warming room provided on the first floor. We did discuss as part of the project having it go to the second floor, but currently the project shows it just up to the first floor of the arena.
With it being a modern facility, the chances of more popularity, the bleacher area, is there room for a mezzanine over the existing area they're gonna use to put a second set of bleachers in?
There's not, to go over top of those?
Yeah.
I don't think so with the eave height of the roof. The eave height of this building is only, 16 feet. 15, 16
Then there's not enough
So
room.
by the time you get to the back of the bleachers, those
Yeah.
are gonna be up you're gonna almost be able to touch the eave of the roof there with your hand.
I'm not familiar with it, so that's why I was asking.
Yeah, at the center center of the building down to grade or down to slab, that existing building is 25 feet tall at the peak. And just to kind of give you an idea of the addition, we are 30 feet from the same mark, so the addition is 5 feet taller. We do, and that's because we're really trying to hide that gable, and we want to flash that gable behind into the addition, into the back of that wall. We don't want that existing gable roof to be proud of the addition. So it does increase in height on the parking lot side there by about 5 feet.
So the current, warming room has a bench along the back wall. Is there gonna be seating in the warming rooms or standing room only again?
Against the glass, it'll be primarily standing room, but there will be seating, behind, like in the concessions here. This is really kind of a hallway, so it'll just be standing room here and here. We do have tables and chairs close to the concessions here.
And you're saying along the glass, but you also said that the existing one's gonna go away, so that'll come back to the original, like, arena space. So will people be able to stand along that glass?
What we'll probably have to do there is have signage that you can't stand in that space here, because people standing in the warming room wouldn't be able to see through.
That's
Yeah.
pretty much where I was going.
I think ideally you're gonna probably fill the bleachers and fill the warming rooms. I don't think then with the project, you're gonna have a lot of people standing around the glass.
It's pretty typical to have a space between your warming room and your ice surface.
Yeah.
I think we're one of the only arenas that you have your
right up
glass,
on it.
your warming
Right
room
there,
glass.
yeah, and that's not good because you're heating that and those boards aren't insulated.
Yeah.
They had to do it though because there weren't any options. People wanted a warming room.
They used to have a gold judge in there, where they turned the light on if it was cold. Remember
Yeah,
that?
the old warming room in there.
Yeah, that's why they had to be right up against the glass.
And then they took it out and then people wanted it back, so
Yeah.
that's why it's there. But that does go away, and, I think to keep people from standing there, it'll just have to be signage.
You know, with, us having the best ice pretty much around, has there been any thought about making it more of a regulation size ice? And that would obviously compromise the ice that we have, and be more.
Yeah, there weren't any discussions about
and
that.
things like that.
The length of there's not a lot of room on each end of the rink, past the boards. You can see here, there's maybe 5 feet here, and then probably 8 feet here. And, you know, if we made the rink any longer, because I think it's the length, really, it's 185 and regulation's 200, so we don't have the length to add to make it, regulation size. It is okay for exhibitions and for varsity, but I think for sectionals, there are certain events that you just can't host with that rink. There aren't a lot of rinks though, really. There are a very limited number that are actually true regulation size. Most of them are a little bit smaller.
Does that vary based on where you're at? Cause we hosted 2 state championships. I played in them, 2 there.
And there's a variance between, I do not recall exactly the number, but between 200 and 185 is regulation. Regulation, yeah. So you're within regulation.
We're within regulation. There's certain events that go beyond 185 that we can't host. I'm not particular with all the details of that, but there were no discussions about making the playing surface any bigger.
I've talked to people that own property on the backside on Catherine, where our addition's gonna be. And one of the things they're concerned about, and they wanna make sure, is that we put gutters on the building and then we put drainage in the ground.
Yep, yeah, there will be,
Because that building with the overhang is pretty close to everybody's property back there.
we can collect, because we're new roofing and siding, we can gutter and downspout everything into the stormwater. And essentially have a lot less runoff than there currently is. So, most of your impervious area of that site is the rink. it's bigger than the parking lot in terms of area, so. So we'll do that as part of the project.
I had one. I know some of the church members in the adjacent church were probably worried about impeding upon the parking during, church when you're tackling that side of the building construction. I know we're not moving into that parking lot, but can you just touch on what would that look like, worst case, best case scenario?
Using that parking lot side?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the property line it's just past the end of the building there, that the town owns. So really, unless there's some sort of negotiation with the church on using that and using that as a staging area, I presume most of the construction, at least for the existing arena, will come through the overhead door facing the school. And we would fence off from the road to the building, that parking area, and they would use that for staging there. I just don't know, we can't really stage there because they'd have to clean it up every Sunday, move everything out of there for church.
Right.
So it's not part of the plan anyways, right, to use that parking lot?
I mean, we haven't gotten that far, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't suggest using that parking lot for anything. They might give you a few feet for equipment access around the building. You are gonna need to get equipment around there, and you're gonna have tires, you're gonna have equipment beyond your property line on that side. And I think that's something you can work with the church on, but putting any staging or materials.
Yeah, right. That's the main concern.
Yeah, and you will have the parking lot too on the addition side for staging as well, so. That is quite a bit of area. I know they used a lot of that for the gym work, stage materials there, so it'll probably look similar to that. And it will be all fenced and secure, so the kids can't get in there.
Yeah, that was one of my questions and concerns living next door. Watching the trucks come in, and they were unloading equipment and materials as the kids were trying to walk to school, and it was a pretty tricky situation through there.
Well, with that, see, they had to go across the street back to the school, and so they were leaving a staging area and traveling. Here, I think we can work with inside a boundary that's established with fencing, and so once everything's inside that, the work stays in that boundary.
So, if you're talking about the bleachers and stuff, handle more, plus you have more space for everything, what about parking? Like, what's the capacity for parking in the lot, and then what's the thought outside of that?
Well, everything the town owns here on the existing lot stays. We gained a couple spots where we take the existing entry out, and then we lose a few in the existing parking lot from the new entry. There may be 60 to 70 spaces currently on the existing parcel. The church parking here, I don't know if, it's been discussed about having an agreement where you can use their parking on off days. Honestly, on the big events, I think the school parking is often utilized, and then same thing when school's in session. I know a lot of the people are also using this lot for school, and so there's, I think that sort of shared agreement there. Currently, the existing parking has worked, it's worked. Could there be more?
Not that it really has a lot to offer, but, I've walked through the parking lot quite often. I live over by there. And my husband and I got laughing that when we started our kids in hockey, we had a small car. There was not one car, let alone a small vehicle, in that parking lot. So when you have room for 70 vehicles, what size vehicles are we looking at? Because now we're looking at the massive vehicles
SUVs with the
that
hockey
are
equipment and kids they're hauling, yeah.
Well, parking space width has changed over time. It used to be 8 feet, now they're going 9 or 10. It's because of the vehicles. The lot currently isn't lined, and we will be repaving that lot and lining it, striping it. That's gonna help tremendously with parking efficiency. Because currently, you might see 5, 6 feet in between cars. That really needs to be reduced to a few feet. It's actually, with the project, the parking will be more efficient than what currently exists because of that.
When you talk about the space requirement, if they have an area designated for compact cars, can that space be reduced closer to the 8 feet where they don't need the bigger distance?
You can reduce the width and length too. I think you can go from like 18 feet to 14 to 16 feet.
So that could increase your parking area.
You get a few more spaces, yeah.
Because one of the biggest things I'm sure the neighborhood is concerned about is, you know, people occupying the streets for overflow parking requirements.
Oh, I have pictures of them parking right in my yard.
Has there been
Or
any
her yard.
consideration to, if you're gonna restripe it, to making the parking lot one way and then putting these spaces on diagonal, which makes it easier to pull in and easier to see when you're backing out?
Yes, I've thought about it, I haven't discussed it with the board or the public, if that made sense. The way angled parking makes a lot of sense, and it is safer when you're backing out of a space because you can see the traffic coming one direction. However, you do lose spaces with it. It is less efficient if you were to take the same parking area and put it on an angle. So if we were to consider that, we would lose space, but it might create a safer parking lot. Where we typically introduce angled parking is when we don't have the required 60-foot width for a parking lot. You need 60 feet wide to have 90-degree parking on both sides. When you have less than 60, you're forced to put angled parking in. Great example of that would be up at the hospital, up at the new medical office building. That's all angled one-way parking. That was done because of that. They didn't have enough room for 90-degree parking. So, hasn't really been considered. It is something we can look at to see, you know, if we did introduce it. And also which way we would angle it, which way would it want to be one way? Would we want to introduce the traffic coming down Bolton and leaving towards Catherine? I think most people currently come down Bolton and leave Bolton. I don't think, you know, Catherine.
It's about half and half.
Is it half and half?
Yeah, it's about half and half, yeah.
Okay. So that, it could be looked at, I think, at later parts of the process, so.
If you do the angled parking, I know when you go to games there now, people park in the middle. You know, they park in the middle between, everybody's gotta back up and worry about the end of the guy that's parking in the middle. Because people are always looking for that one spot. But if you're an angled, it would give you an easier way to back up and get out and actually leave a parking spot down.
Yeah, potentially.
Potentially, I know, just like, you might gain those extra spots that you're gonna lose on the corner.
Yeah.
Bringing out the building might, because the building's coming out towards the parking lot, so it might lose it anyways.
We can explore it, further, the parking. I don't think we're gonna increase the number of spaces based on what we currently are showing. So it's not gonna be about increasing capacity so much as it is maybe coming up with a better flow.
Probably should incentivize motorcycles, going in the winter.
One of the nice things with it adjacent to the school is that a lot of kids are walking to the building after school for practices, and they're using it, school's using it for, gym class, and that doesn't require any parking. So it is getting utilized where the parking isn't necessary, for certain activities.
Kids walking to school, a lot of the kids to school, from school, come through this parking lot, okay? Walk the whole length of the parking lot, I watch them as these people watch them.
Yeah.
I really think we need to address one sidewalk or two, I guess maybe just one, that goes to Catherine Ave.
Yep.
Really needs to go to the street. There's a corner there, at the corner of our parking lot, where the guardrail is, and it meets Catherine Ave, which is next to her house, that we always plow. There's always been piles of snow there. We started last year, we're gonna do this from now on, take that snowbank and move it someplace else, because the kids just consistently walk through that parking lot and step out into that street, and they can't see a thing.
Yeah.
So.
Right on that corner every time. Yeah, there's no sight.
Well, we should probably even do a crosswalk across Catherine then too, from that sidewalk.
Yes.
And put up pedestrian signs, make a dedicated crosswalk there, because if they're walking across the parking lot, you know, we need to make it safe for them all the way
Yeah, they walk right down the middle of the parking lot.
Parking lot, no matter what.
That's right.
Yeah.
You addressed the snow removal. Are there any trucks left in the town, other than the plows, that with the use of a front end loader, the snow can be trucked out to a different location?
I think that's what happens when those banks get big, is the village comes over and does use a front end loader, or when one of the neighbors calls and there's a problem or it's too high, we send somebody.
Good, okay.
This is probably more of a town question, but in the summertime, are you gonna keep allowing trailers and boat trailers to be parked in that parking lot? Cause, like, you know who I am, I own the crossing. So like, last summer, you know, we're hosting our upstate championship game, and 75% of the parking lot, it felt like, was just full of boat trailers and stuff.
Yeah.
So like, are you gonna leave that there? Or are we gonna change that to that for park somewhere else?
Yeah, the boat trailers.
So we've talked to the village, and this isn't in stone, but we're gonna try to move the trailer parking lot to another location. That's what we're gonna try to do. You see, we put some signs in there last fall that it's for the school and for the arena, or for the facility only. So that's what we're gonna plan on doing come spring.
Cool. Just curious.
Cause the trailers are definitely a big problem.
Yeah.
And boats and everything else that stays there all summer long and doesn't get moved.
Hockey nets.
Yeah, that's what makes it tough. A lot of that stuff is set there all summer. Yeah, I used it, obviously, I think I use it probably more than most in the summertime. I just, there's nowhere to park for our 4 or 5 games we have, and we fill that place up, so like, my opinion, as far as capacity, it feels like it's gonna triple it. Because like, we were getting 150, 200 people in that place, and the bleachers were completely full, and the whole thing wrapped around was pretty full. So like, I know the capacity currently says about 500, but realistically, with those new bleachers, it's really probably triple, I feel like, that's gonna double, I don't know why,
Yeah, it probably is triple, at least triple.
People like like for me, for my sport, people like standing on the boards for box lacrosse, so like, they're not gonna sit in the back of that one.
But you don't need a warming room in the summer either.
Trust me, that whole thing.
It'll be cooler next year.
Yeah, we'll be conditioned, so you'll get more, occupants in the arena.
And I'll probably, and if it becomes something like this, I know I can host more of that too, use it a lot more in the spring and summer. Because we can host tournaments and stuff with all the locker rooms, pretty often.
We haven't talked about where the money's gonna come from, but I wanna say this, do we have somebody to write grants or have you looked into that to see if there's money out there for us?
Yes, and I'll let Brent talk about that. We're right at that point.
Yeah, because, Clayton, look at them, and we're just as good as them, and we need to have something like this.
Absolutely.
So we have 4 funding agencies that we've come up with, and I believe that Rob said there's a couple more that we can go to too.
Yeah.
And just talking to engineers and architects and different people, we're hoping that we can possibly get 50% funding.
And the other.
And I just said we're hoping, and that's just looking at what we've looked at. The best one was, what was that, environmental facilities?
USDA.
Yeah.
Probably.
That has an area for municipality buildings. So that's
The rest we would most likely have to hire bond counsel for and go to bond.
And a grant writer that we've actually been talking about a little bit and looking.
Is there any kind of leverage against the Bonnie Castle area for subsidy to fund the arena?
Leverage to do what now?
In other words, leverage money.
Yeah.
Selling, have you got any interest in selling the property off or leasing it out for a profit to do anything worthwhile?
I think, go ahead, Chuck.
Yeah, I think there's a few options there for us. We've been approached by a few different people specifically on that, and I know we have some discussions to do, particularly around the stables.
In papers, but that doesn't give the whole story.
Yeah. The reality is, we've had individuals approach us, but if it came to that decision, we would have to put it out to the public, and that would be to everyone's best interest anyway, so it would become a bid process, and,
It's just a secondary thought.
yeah.
I'm assuming this would go to public vote as well, this project?
Doesn't have to, but we can decide that, yeah.
So if you go ahead with this, will there be, somebody that would like advertise for it, promote it more so you get more use for it, collect more fees for the use of the building?
Yeah, I think that's a general idea right now, is that we would have someone who would become more of a promoter than
There would
anything.
be an actual like site manager that would be in charge of those things and all the scheduling.
Yeah.
And so that it doesn't sit vacant as much as it has for the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think that this facility gives us an opportunity to do that,
To market it
for
better.
sure, you know. We've had some discussions with Andrew early on about, you know, the lipstick on a pig approach, and it doesn't generate anything new for us, we don't think. We feel something like this, we can start moving into some more shows, possibly some concerts. There's a ticket office there for a reason. Nate's lacrosse group has done a really fine job. Matt Chase coaches TI Soccer Club. That's become a bigger thing. So this is a pretty big opportunity for us to really expand on some activities and some cool community gatherings, enhancements, all that kind of thing. And I'm pretty passionate about this project. Obviously, I grew up a hockey player, and I'm overseeing the youth program for the town now, and the numbers probably finally justify us moving in a direction where we're getting something out there for our kids, and it's the eyesore of the community, in my opinion, right now. And we really, I truly feel like we need to do something about it. And us having the capability to advertise, generate some tourism, it's good for the whole town. I think it's a pretty sweet opportunity.
During the summer, what other usage can you have when you put the turf down? Besides a couple of lacrosse, is it lacrosse you use it for?
Yeah, lacrosse, like I said, they do indoor soccer. I've talked to Matt specifically, and I know, like, was it the Western Soccer League is always looking for facilities like this to play in. People will travel for this stuff, and, you know, cliche, build it and they will come. It happens. And if you just travel up to Clayton, you'll see the trade shows that they're doing up there, and you know.
When I was at the lacrosse game in July, the place was packed, as everybody knows. The streets were packed, everything was packed with cars and stuff. I walked through that building from one end to the other, and I did not know a person in that building. And I think Nate will tell us that the teams were from where?
I mean, I have the teams locally that we play against are from like Syracuse, Utica, Oswego. This year we have a team coming from Finger Lake just joined the league. We had one team come up from Massachusetts. And then my players come from, I have guys come from Toronto, from Buffalo, from Alexandria, from Quebec. Like, I have guys from all over the place, Vermont, because, I mean, we finished second in the country this year too, so, you know, so like, we played in there, and we made the best of it. So, like, something like this would be amazing, especially for someone like with the luck that we've had with a successful program. I can then generate more youth opportunities, which is what I'm doing this year. I'm gonna start youth, clinics and stuff, but my plan for this spring, so we can get more kids playing, and then kids from out of town. And in the summer, you know, besides boating and going down to the bar and hanging out at the beach and doing all the other summer things you do in Alice Bay, what we can provide is entertainment on a Friday or Saturday night, where, you know, after you're done out on the river, you can go in there, and if we can fit 500 people in there, I'll get them in there. We'll get people in there. The reason people didn't come to the games last year is because they knew they couldn't fit. We've had people, because Alexandria, like, you know, a lot of them come down here to play hockey, and they know what it's like, so they didn't want to make the trip knowing that they wouldn't have a place to stand or sit, especially some of the elders, because there's not a lot of, you know, handicap accessible area in the existing, you know, setup. Like my grandpa, I just brought in like a tall, like pull-up chair and just sat him in the corner, you know, like, and that's not, you know, probably the safest thing to do, but he wasn't gonna miss it. So like this facility will change it for both the town and for the area, so we can get other people. You know, they're trying to build that big project in Watertown, and I've sat in on that meeting a few times. And that might take years to make, and there's a lot of people looking for space like this all the time. This is pretty good for the town.
Now, if you hold events in there, like concerts, that kind of stuff, or trade shows, what's that gonna do to the turf? Is that gonna hurt the turf any? Or?
We would have to evaluate the process of what that looks like, yeah.
It's time consuming to roll it up and.
Sure
pull it
is.
out.
Oh, yeah.
There's no doubt about it, yep.
That's what I was thinking of before.
Yep.
But to her point, like if you had someone managing that and you do the risk assessment on whether or not it was even worth the risk, to the town, you could say, well, it's really not worth the risk. But to the lady's point too, or to Sean's point, if you build it, they will come. We've had people from the school gymnasium wanna come up from downstate, to conduct a basketball tournament, bringing, you know, upwards of 30 to 40 teams just to play basketball in a new gymnasium because they love this area. So there's all the positives and very little negatives, but, you know, doing your due diligence and having a meeting like this to get all the blind spots from the community that we may not necessarily get just in a small group of individuals. So we're better together by design, trying to make sure we're getting all these great ideas. We incorporate those into the plan and make sure we hit the bullseye, or as close to the bullseye, the first time out the chute.
We spent some time talking with Gary Williams, who's here, who ran the Bonnie Castle stables for quite a few years, and you were asking about managing and events and timing and scheduling and all that. So we spoke to Gary quite a bit, and he's helped us as far as groups and times and people that are out there that may want to use our facility. And I think one of the things that we've been talking about for a year is we're gonna have to hire a full-time manager, promoter type of person to run this facility.
Right, I mean, like even in the summer, the village provides the swimming recreation program, but I mean, that's a lost asset. They could be running, the kids could be doing lacrosse in there on, you know, weekday mornings in the summer.
Yeah.
And the kids would have more activities, and then when they get to the high school level, you would have competitive kids in these other sports, you know, do softball clinics inside and those kind of events.
Yeah, we've really been concentrated on bridging the town and the school as far as the athletics go. Right, we're a small community, and a lot of times what's going on with our kids in the sports field is kind of what unites us, and that's where I see a lot of people anyways, whether it's at a hockey rink or a soccer field or what have you. This will provide a pretty unique opportunity in the shoulder seasons as well. So baseball, softball, golf, all can use that facility, and it'll be a pretty net positive, I think, once you see our teams and get older and hopefully enhance their skill set to make us, you know, make the school proud of their teams, that's for sure.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm getting fired up. Yeah. I'm getting excited.
I know there's lacrosse at Clayton, I think at the high school level, is it?
Yeah, Boston Island High School.
Yeah, and I mean, lacrosse seems to be the sport that everyone wants to play. And I think hockey players anywhere want to pick up a lacrosse stick. So I hope that we can get something here in our town with Clayton. And like we share, the two communities share the high school hockey, maybe we can share lacrosse. And this facility could be a great training place for the two schools to use. For when the weather's bad and they get inside and fix into just like your box.
Yeah, I have a player that's from Alex Bay that went to Alex Bay that plays for Thousand Island. So they do combine at the high school.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have this facility to use for them as a group, just like we go to Clayton to play hockey in here, back and forth.
At the youth level, at about the 8U level for lacrosse right now in Thousand Islands, I coach those kids, about 50 kids playing lacrosse right now. And it's only just going like this.
Yeah. Do we need to look at that for the Bay as being its own team? Do we have it yet?
I mean, that's always a discussion. I
know
mean,
it's not for here, but.
Yeah, it is. But there's a lot of kids playing lacrosse right now, certainly. It's new, it's popular. It's not new, it's new to us. But I would love to see Nate, I'd love to see some programming in there for the kids.
Somebody knows how to play.
I'm starting it in the spring regardless.
That'd be great.
So a lot of it, there's never been a place to play, you know, so you,
Nobody to coach it, because nobody knows how to play.
nobody to coach, nowhere to play.
Brent, you know, the pickleball courts are big now, everybody's playing pickleball, you know, up like this. Is the carpet in there in the summertime conducive to playing putting those temporary things that are playing there? You do it to return church on the carpet,
Right. Our stuff is thicker and it's got a pad.
so it wouldn't work.
No. Call it something different.
First ball.
Right.
Might be a minor detail, but if we're looking at doing, events such as concerts or whatnot, we may wanna add into the budget, getting some banquet tables and chairs to be able to set up for events such as at the Clayton Opera House or, you know, other venues like that.
We do have in our budget, I think 200,000 set aside for furniture, FF&E, furniture, fixtures, equipment. We don't know what we can fit inside the budget yet, but, typically furniture comes out last. Bleachers would be part of that budget. So that has been considered.
Anybody else?
So, given that the school and we have a lot of free public skate where they can use the skates that are currently at the rink that are in ill repair, to say the least, is there room in the plan for somewhere to have a skate sharpening machine or something to that effect?
Yeah, I think there could be. Back in the back of the existing arena, in these spaces, we're really not touching that area of the existing rink. There's a couple existing locker rooms, bathrooms, storage rooms. We could convert an area probably for that. If not, get it in like the locker room, you know, try to.
And all that upstairs storage that's currently there will no longer be there, correct?
The upstairs storage?
The mystery rooms up behind it, the announcing room
Yes,
and all that stuff, that's all gone?
all that's coming in.
Okay.
Yep.
Is there a broadcasting booth in the new plan?
Yep, it's on the second floor, it's accessed now from the addition. You go out through a door into the rink and onto a balcony. It may not be on, that's on the plan. It's right here.
She doesn't have a second.
So it's accessed from the second floor.
Okay.
It's right here. It'd be right here. There were talks initially about trying to get that on the other side. We haven't moved it. It still is on this side. A little more challenging to put it on the other side of the rink because it's not 2 stories currently. And also there's not a lot of space inside the existing arena there, so probably we'll keep it where we have it shown.
Anybody else?
So if things go as planned, you're looking for like a 26 construction start?
I think it's gonna boil down to funding and the process. You know, right now, we're right at the cusp of applying, for grants and funding. Ideally, I think you start this project, you've gotta start it really probably in the spring, just due to the weather and the breaking ground. You wanna do that after the snow melts. That also coincides with the ice coming off. So that's when you'd wanna start the addition. That could be, you know, we'd have to be diligent. That could happen next year or it could happen the following year, either spring. Contrary, you could also start in the fall and then close it and, you know, get it enclosed and not have ice that year as well. So it really, we have to look at the phasing and the schedule to determine like what's gonna be impacted, because there are gonna be impacts.
Is there any potential for, you know, cost increases per year, as a percentage, 5% more per year, that's still in 10% more?
Certainly will go up every year. Actually, right now, I would say the project may even benefit by waiting a year or two because of, 1, interest rates, 2, things are settling down, material prices and things are coming back down to normal. Wood and those things came back quick, but it takes manufactured materials like these a lot longer to rebound. So over the next couple of years, there's a window, I think, of within 2 years of right now where there aren't any serious escalations in this project, but after that, then the project, I believe, it really also goes hand in hand with what the economy is doing. But I think there's a window within the next 2 to 3 years maximum that this project really will be at its most cost-effective time frame. And after that, you know, we're gonna go back into a standard escalation every year of probably 3%.
Similar to what we dealt with at Bonnie Castle Stables when we looked at the pricing to do that, and we had a price of, I wanna say 1.5 million, and 3 years later, that price was 5 million.
During COVID,
Same
right?
thing.
You did that?
That was for a roof.
That's for a roof.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it got crazy that the first year and a half after COVID was really uneconomical to do anything.
That is a crazy thought too. Is there any consideration for, putting any kind of solar panels across the top of that roof to mitigate the operating costs?
There are some currently mounted on the existing arena. Right now, we would probably just take those off and reinstall them. We haven't discussed increasing, you know, the number of solar panels. We'd wanna look at the ROI, we'd wanna look at the grants and any cost-saving measures if we would increase, you know, the number of solar panels. There is space to put more on. I think that's gonna be a function of the ROI, the budget, where this whole thing falls. But it's certainly something, you know, I would recommend looking at. They're pretty unobtrusive. It's a low slope roof, you don't really see them. It is a good roof to put them on.
Anybody else? Thank you, everybody, for coming, and feel free to, I'm gonna say, call me or Sean or anybody else if you have any more questions. Everybody okay with that, board members?
Yes, sir.
It's gonna be a lot of work. There's a lot to it, as you can see.
Yep.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.